Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today to Deborah Kobylt Live. I love that music, Kurt. Thanks for playing it. And we're playing that in honor of our special guest today, Damien Mander. Thank you so much for being here.
Deb, g'day, mates. How you doing? Good to be here.
You love the Stones, huh?
I do, actually. I went to a Stones concert when I was quite young, when they were touring Australia, and got to see them there.
You got the fever,
And they're still going.
Have you ever seen them since you were a little kid?
I have not, no.
Okay, we got to figure that out. All right,
Okay.
next time you're here, like sort of arrange it that you're here when the Stones are playing. Why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Damien Mander, you are the. Am I saying your name right?
No.
Okay, say it. I told you. Okay, I am
Damien Mander.
Mander.
M-A-N-D-E-R.
Okay, Damien Mander. You got to correct me when I screw stuff up.
No,
This is how we do things
I like
around
watching
here.
you squirm a little bit first.
Yeah, I don't squirm. I like making mistakes. I'm
Okay.
kind of cool with that. I'm
Okay.
down with it. You are a former Navy clearance diver and special operations sniper from Australia. That's a handful. What does that mean? I mean, I kind of get the diving, but a sniper
Yeah, so I grew up in the water.
in Australia.
In Australia, loved being in the ocean, loved having that salt all over me. And then when I was old enough, I wanted to join the Navy as a clearance diver.
That would make sense.
As a diver, and I did that. And then September 11 happened, and the Australian government wanted to form what they termed the first and last resort for a terrorist attack on home soil in Australia. And they
So you signed up.
well, they opened up direct entry into Australian Special Forces for the first time in history to the entire Australian nation. Everybody was able to try out, who wanted to try out, and at the end of all that, there were 50 people left, and those 50 people formed the Tactical Assault Group, made up of special operations groups and clearance divers. I came across there as a diver, being a diver, and went into sniper platoon very soon after.
What does that entail to go? I mean, we've all seen the movies about snipers, and none of us live on the front line, so it's very difficult to know what really goes on as a sniper. Could you tell us?
You just dress up as a bush and go running around trying not to get seen or
I
shot.
thought that's what was behind it. I knew it.
There's not much more to it than that. just looking like a bush and being very good at it.
And very good at it, because obviously you have to be very precise. You have to really, really know what you're doing. And I know that was a joke, but seriously, as a sniper, the training must be very intense. What's that like? Just sort of walk me through that before we actually get into what led you to do what you're doing today.
Yeah, a lot of people think sniping is just about shooting straight, but it's not. It's about blending in, melting into your surroundings, and being unseen and trying to remain untouchable, collecting intelligence, doing reconnaissance, and being in a position to carry out your function if and when required, and then getting out of there. So that's. There's a whole lot more to it than just shooting a bullet in a straight direction. You
did 12 tours in Iraq.
Correct. I went over there as a private contractor after my time in the Australian military. Worked on the tools, so to speak. So actually worked with the U.S. military, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Did some work with the Marines, with CPAT, Civilian Police Assistance Training Team. Headed up the Iraq Special Police Training Academy in northern Baghdad, doing paramilitary training operations for the Iraqi police, and also doing long-range recon across the country with the Corps of Engineers, looking at major infrastructure that had been destroyed, schools, hospitals, power plants, and how they could be put back together.
There was a moment in all this time where you decided, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a sniper. And this led you to, go on a trip to Southern Africa?
I finished Iraq in, around the end of 2007. And, a little bit sort of, trying to figure out what to do with the rest of my life. A lot of guys and girls who are part of these units or part of the military, you've got everything around you, this huge support network. You've been trained up, in some cases, you're a machine of war.
You absolutely are a machine of war.
All this money invested into you, and then all of a sudden it stops, and sort of there's no job for a sniper in the local newspaper when you get back home, and a lot of people feel sort of helpless. And particularly, I can say here in America, where 22 US veterans take their own lives every single day of the week, every single week of the year. And, so there needs to be a lot more awareness about the people that do go out there and represent not only the United States but any other country around the world on the front lines. And for a lot of the people, the war doesn't start until the bullets stop and you're trying to reintegrate back into society and and remember how to be a husband or a wife or a father or a brother or a son.
I am involved with the veterans here in Los Angeles, and I always feel badly because I look at them and I say, they weren't born with one leg, and they don't want to be on the streets. They didn't get into it to be on the streets, but what it does to these guys mentally is so difficult, and they need a lot of help and a lot of compassion and a lot of understanding from us, because you're right. You come back, and it's very difficult to integrate into society. You know, some guys are able to do it, and women, and some cannot.
Yeah.
So you got the help that you needed, I guess, or maybe you were just mentally strong and you were able to put it together. Right?
No, I mean, I got lucky. I mean, I went off the rails.
What does off the rails mean? What were you doing?
You know, I spent 11 months in South America. A lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol. Just, you know, really trying to piece together what the rest of my life looked like. And you know, a lot of guys don't get so lucky as you're talking about, especially here in Los Angeles. And I think if our politicians are going to be so willing to send our children off to war, then they should be ready to receive them when they come back home.
There has to be a back end, and a big back end, too, to help them throughout their lives and really reacclimate them. That's a different show, but I'm glad at least we touched on it a little bit. So you then went to South Africa and...
Well, South America.
South America.
You know, 11 months over there, hit rock bottom, heard about anti-poaching a decade before, and decided to, you know, got a one-way ticket, packed a small bag, carry-on luggage, and my boots, and ended up in Africa.
So you were by yourself, you packed a little bit of luggage, you land in Africa, and then what? Like, walk me through what happened.
So, you know, I didn't join the military to serve my country. I did it for adventure. I didn't go to Iraq to help the Iraqi people. I went there for money, and I didn't go to Africa looking for a cause. I went there looking for a fight. But there was a couple of things over there that ruined my plans. One was seeing this group of people. It's rangers, people who are out there right now, as you and me sit here in Hollywood and have this interview. There are people all around the world risking their life on behalf of an international community to hold on to the natural world and all the animals in it. And those people are game rangers, and they risk their life every day, not so much from the poachers they're trying to stop, but from the very animals they're trying to protect.
Now, to be very clear, the poachers are not men and women that are sitting in a hut that really need to feed their family. These are criminals, essentially, right?
Well, the organisation that I ended up founding in 2009, the International Anti-Poaching Foundation, was designed to go to the front lines of the world wildlife wars and be the last line of defence for nature in areas where organised crime are using paramilitary tactics to take out high-target species like elephant and rhinoceros.
So the first time that you saw, obviously you must have seen this up front where they were taking out these animals. It's disgusting how they do it. I've seen the video of what they do. It's horrifying. Obviously that had such an impact. You said, this is it. This is what I'm going to do, right? And then what, you sold everything, didn't you, essentially?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was
to form this.
Not a lot by, say, Beverly Hills standards, but it was 100% of what I had, and you know, put it all into starting this organisation. I had two things in this world when I saw the problem over there of the need for support for rangers and the plight of animals. I had two things. I had a certain skill set, which was unfortunately required on the front lines to look after these animals. And I had money, money that I'd saved up from all my time in the military and time in Iraq, and decided to use the money that I'd made on the battlefields in Iraq for what I considered to be a much higher purpose.
So then you were out there essentially back on the front lines, weren't you?
I was, but you know, this time my heart was in it.
That's important. I remember when I first met you, I thought this is a guy with passion. And when you have passion, it just drives you, doesn't it? You can't stop. Whether you have money, whether you don't, it's the passion will get you through no matter what. If you've got a cause or something you want to do, right? So no matter what, you've been driven to do this.
Yeah, I had a chat with a fellow the other day. He contacted me. He said he wants to get involved with helping animals. And, you know, what sort of advice do I have for him? And, you know, we spoke for about half an hour. And he said, how do you stay motivated? And I said, brother, that's going to be the last of your problems, because once you start, you can't stop. Once you start doing good things, especially for people or creatures, animals that need it, it's impossible to stop. It becomes infectious, and you want to do more because you see the difference that you make for the rangers and for the animals that they protect.
Do we have some footage of Damien, or at least some pictures that we can look at? I mean, you were here in Los Angeles about a week ago, and you were riding around on top of a rhino, right? It was actually that they had dollar bills on top of the rhino, and we had an event called Stop Poaching Now.
Yeah.
And that's an event to help you raise money for what you do.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we registered here as a 501c3 charity in the States. We're now registered in 5 countries around the world, but a lot of our donors are American. They're here. They understand that they're not going to pick up an AK-47 and move to live in a canvas tent in the bush in Africa. We'll do that for them. But what they understand is that these rangers can't do their job of protecting the natural world without the support of the international community.
No, it's a partnership. You need the people to give the money. You need the guys on the front lines. You need the eyes, the ears. You need everything.
Yeah, you know that only happens because people around the world give money to this cause. And you know, if you look at our focus as a species in terms of philanthropic funding, so all the money that humans give to charity, 95% of it goes to human causes. 5% goes to animal causes and the environment. So we need to try and correct that balance, and I'm hoping we can do a little bit of it today.
Well, I think people need to understand that we have to live with these animals. And I know not you, but as people are living every day and driving to work in their vehicles and sitting at their desk and driving home and going to the grocery store, their lives are somewhat methodical and they don't realize. I mean, it takes travel sometimes, at least, to understand that there's such a vast world out there, not just with human beings, but with other live creatures, and we have to coexist. And if we're killing each other for the ivory or anything else, we won't be coexisting much longer. And that's hard to get through to people.
I did a talk last night at Soho House in Malibu, and as a lady came up to me.
I was there. I mean, I was actually going to go there. Okay. I should have gone.
She came up after the talk and she said, your talk and how you explained what you do and the plight we are in, not only in Zimbabwe or Mozambique, but as a global community, it reminded me of what the last person who cut down, or what the person who cut down the last tree on Easter Island must have been thinking when they cut it down. And
that's what you have to get
through.
Led
Led to their own extinction. And look, we build strategies around protecting elephant and rhinoceros. And when we do that, these are the hardest animals in an ecosystem to look after. When we do that, everything else in that ecosystem is being looked after. The birds, the bees, the flowers, the trees. We're holding onto the natural world and the millions of little creatures that live in these ecosystems. And that is, aside from giving them life and a place in the natural world where they don't have to worry about the stresses that humans are placing on them, it also helps us hold on to the natural world as a species. And the more of the natural world we can hold on to, the greater we have a chance of saving ourselves. Because at the moment we're the endangered ones. We are pushing ourselves further and further to the brink of extinction. We are into the 6th mass grade extinction on this planet. And for the first time in history, it's a man-made phenomenon.
The way that these animals are killed is cruel. I mean, can you sort of describe briefly what they do? It's not even done in a humane way. They just grab these animals and very often they'll just cut off their face. Isn't that correct? It's horrible.
Yeah, I mean,
if people really knew how horrifying it was out there, maybe that would appeal to people as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got an animal that should be able to go about its life without having to worry about a heavy caliber bullet ripping through skin and flesh and muscle and bone into organs. But that's what these poachers do. They will shoot these animals, come in and take the horn or the tusk while it's still alive. Often we see poachers, because the mothers, the mothers, both in rhino and elephant, form such close bonds with their calves. That the poachers will often shoot the easy target first, being the calf, knowing that the mother will come in and grieve over that calf, and then they can take the mother as well.
Notice how you said the mother will come in and grieve. These are families, and I've only been to Africa a couple of times, and as there were times where we'd be in our vehicle, and a family of elephants would come by, and they would stop, and they would acknowledge us. I remember telling you this, and they would sort of nod and look at me right in the eye.
Yeah.
And continue on as if to say, this is my family, nice to meet yours.
Yeah.
And just because they don't speak English or whatever language you speak out there, it doesn't mean that they don't have the same situation going on in their own lives that they were put on here. They have families. And, for people who can't travel and experience something like that on their own, I love programs like the National Geographic because I think they're so well done. Do you?
Yeah, of course.
And at least it can sort of put a face to what's going on out there? If you can't get out and travel, then at least watch a program to see what these animals are like. I mean, it puts you closer to it, don't you think?
Of course, and the language of animals is too complicated for us to understand, but the language of suffering is universal, and I think we need to acknowledge that. Just because we can't comprehend everything that's going through the mind of these animals doesn't mean that we shouldn't be responsible for their protection. We're one of 5 million species on this planet, but we're the only species that has the power to determine what level of suffering is acceptable for all other sentient beings to endure.
How many people work with you over there?
We have a management team now of around 20 people in key management positions that are currently supporting around 250 to 300 rangers who are helping protect around 6 million acres of wilderness throughout southern and East Africa.
And what's important also to note is education with the countries that are buying this stuff. I mean, obviously, a lot of people know that China is no longer going to be purchasing, right, the ivory from these animals.
Well, officially.
Officially, right.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, I mean, like with any policy change, normally the last place you see a difference is on the ground. So we're still seeing, serious levels of both elephant and rhino poaching on the front lines there. So, and look, once, let's say demand reduction works eventually, in Asia, something else is going to fill that spot. Something else is going to fill that spot. The job of a ranger to be out there on the front lines risking their life is always going to be required. I'm sorry. And the international community is going to become increasingly reliant on guys like me.
So what do they do? What are those rangers doing?
These guys are...
I mean, specifically, what are they doing? They're holding back the poachers.
We need soldiers that believe and think like conservationists, and conservationists that can fight like soldiers. That's the reality out there at the moment. Another billboard in Asia, another conference is not going to protect one of these animals right now, right this second. The only thing that's going to save one of these animals today is a good person with a gun standing out there willing to risk their life.
And that good person with the gun would kill a poacher?
If need be. It's like any Western law enforcement model that we use, where they have to use the minimum amount of force required to get the job done. Doesn't mean that lethal force cannot be used if it's required. That's the line in the sand we've drawn as an organisation. We have to operate with multiple government departments and also from the private sector across multiple countries that have different laws and policies. Some of those countries, you are legally allowed to shoot a poacher on site if you see them with a weapon. But we've pulled back, and what we have found is that well-trained rangers are generally able to take charge of a situation before it descends into a firefight.
That's incredible. Have you seen any increase at all in the population of these animals, or no?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one project, the population of critically endangered black rhinoceros has tripled. We're now protecting the eastern flank of a population of 8,000 rhino, the biggest population and highest concentration in the world, Kruger National Park. We saw...
I never was able to see a rhino, by the way, in Kruger.
Okay, they're there. They're there.
I know they're there.
Yeah,
but just so you know, I mean, and I had some great guides, and where were they? They were sleeping that day. But my point is, they're hard to spot, and if there's more of them out there, that's just terrific. But I got to get back there for that.
I'll send out some good vibes to them and let them know you're coming next time. Yeah.
But so continue.
So that project there is protecting what I will say is the most critical piece of land on the planet for rhino conservation. It's a piece of land that separates most of the world's rhino in Kruger National Park and most of the world's rhino poaching syndicates in Mozambique. And we were able to effect a 90% reduction in rhino poaching directly to our west in Kruger National Park, which led to helped lead to a national downturn in rhino poaching last year for the first time in a decade.
So you've been traveling here around the U.S. for quite a few weeks. You must be exhausted because you've been raising money, essentially, for your cause.
I'm all right, Lee. There's people over here with a lot of energy, a lot of passion, and you know what? It's refreshing. It's good to meet these people and understand that we're not alone over there in the bush. People around the world care about what's happening, and they want to make a difference. They want to be part of the solution.
But that's got to be exhausting. I mean, it's true. There's so many passionate people who want to help you, but it's exhausting. And then you go back and do your day job. You're going back to Africa, and you're back on the front lines, back with the Rangers, back with your family.
Yeah.
You have a wife and little boy.
Yeah, correct.
It's a lot of hard work.
This is this is part of the job. Coming over and doing the public speaking gig and trying to drum up awareness. But my specialty is not public speaking or fundraising.
You do a very good job at it.
It's counterinsurgency warfare is my specialty, but I need to be able to get the message out there. And being the founder of this organisation, I think I'm passionate enough to try and get that message out as strongly as I think it needs to be delivered.
How much do you need to raise every year to do what you're doing?
We are looking to I'll get up to $2.25 million by the end of the year, and I need to raise another $1 million in the next 2 months to keep all our projects functioning and make sure they're functioning at optimal level. That is on the front lines, protecting the largest population of rhino in the world, operations in Zimbabwe, training anti-poaching units, special investigations, which is going after the head of these poaching syndicates. And what I deem to be our most important initiative is the Anti-Poaching Ranger College. So it's a college for training, a 2-year program for the leaders and instructors of the conservation industry.
And where do you find these people? Can they be from anywhere, or are they basically from the region?
We tend to try and only work with local Indigenous rangers. Sometimes we'll bring in foreigners, like myself. But yeah, we're trying to build solutions for Africa.
Absolutely.
With Africans.
That's so important.
On the ground there.
Yeah, boots on the ground. I think that's great. So for people who want to donate, how can they donate?
They can visit our website. If you're driving along and you might not be able to take down some notes, just remember the word anti-poaching and just put that in.
Anti-poaching.
Anti-poaching. Put that into Google and you'll see the International Anti-Poaching Foundation come up. Or if you're on your phone or on your computer at the moment, go to www.iapf.org. IAPF.
And actually, we'll put that up later as well.
Beautiful.
IAPF.org. And if people ever want to reach you too, are you blogging about this stuff? You've got a page that people, if they have anything they want to say to you, that they can write to you?
Yeah, look, I mean, my Facebook page is where I keep busiest in terms of social media.
And that's Damien, Mander.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, there's a video on there. I got posted last week, the week before. It's got about 3 million hits. A talk I did at the Sydney Opera House about animals. A TEDx talk there. So, yeah, people can jump on, have a look at the projects we've got.
And on your YouTube?
YouTube. Look,
Not so much?
I'm really lazy with this type of stuff.
I know. Aren't most people? If you're busy, you just can't do it. And then what you have to do is you have to like hire somebody to do this for you so you can get the word out.
Plus, I live in the bush. The nearest traffic light to my house is 300 miles away.
Well,
so.
you got to get somebody 300 miles away to do this for you, because the more that it gets out there, the better for you and your entire organization.
Yeah,
I mean, let's face it. So,
yeah.
Damien, I've loved having you in. I've loved meeting you. I've loved being a part of this, and I just hope we get to work more in the future. I really do. I think you've been amazing. Thank you so much. Everybody, please donate and go to Damien's page, go to our page at Deborah Kobylt Live, and please donate. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Beautiful. Thank you.